Okay, crazy news coming out of the boxing world in the last couple of days. If this is true, this is going to be one of the craziest and most unexpected matchups in the history of boxing. To me, it's more crazy than when Logan Paul fought Floyd Mayweather, when Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather, when Tyson Fury fought Francis Ngannou, when Jake Paul fought Mike Tyson. To me, this tops all of it. Canelo Alvarez, Jake Paul in works for May of this year, and I'm assuming it will be Cinco de Mayo weekend because Canelo always likes to fight on Cinco de Mayo weekend. This is crazy. I don't know how else to describe it. This is crazy. This is a fight that Jake has talked about wanting for a really long time, but we always kind of thought that it would be more towards the end of Canelo's career when he's looking for a good payday, when Jake is coming more into the prime of his career, because believe it or not, Jake Paul is not even in the prime of his boxing career right now. He's only 27, I think. Still has a lot to learn, only 13 fights in. He's going to get better. But taking a fight with Canelo this soon is crazy, and there's a couple of different reasons for this, and this hasn't even been officially announced, but there are a ton of reports confirming it. Jake just put out a tweet saying something along the lines of, "It's time, July 2025, New York City," or something like that. So that makes me think he's fighting in New York in July, but he could still have this fight in May, which would be crazy. Now, I don't think that he would fight Canelo in July. I don't think that that's a Canelo fight because Canelo already has a September date against Terrence Crawford. But the more I kind of thought about this and traced it back, Jake has been planning something for Cinco de Mayo weekend of this year for quite a little while, because if you remember going back to the KSI versus Jake Paul negotiations in last year, Jake's manager, Nikisa Badarian, sent out a tweet saying that February was open for Jake Paul, which would be now. He hasn't booked anything. He's not fighting in February. He said February's open, May is not. He said that Jake Paul was already booked for May. So that makes me think that Jake has had something in the works for May and Cinco de Mayo weekend for a while. And for the longest time, I thought this was going to be Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I really did. I think that would have been a good matchup for Jake. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is not even in his 40s yet, so he's not too old. He's a credible professional boxer, but closer to what Jake's level would probably be now, more of a little bit of a fair matchup. Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. already lost to Anderson Silva, someone that Jake Paul beat and knocked down in the 8th round of their fight. So that fight made more sense to me. Now, it looks like this could be Canelo on Cinco de Mayo weekend, and if that's going to be the case, I would expect it to either take place in Las Vegas or maybe somewhere in Texas like Dallas, San Antonio, I don't know. Something where the Hispanic turnout will be pretty high for Canelo. Why would these two guys take this fight? That's a big question. For Canelo, it's easy payday. There's just nothing else to it. Jake Paul's not going to add too much credibility to his boxing record. It's not going to be like something that we look back on and say, "Oh, he beat Jake Paul. That was a really good win." Not that Jake's bad, but Jake is just an average professional fighter right now. And there is nothing wrong with that. That's a compliment to Jake, considering he never had an amateur career and he's only been boxing for 6 or 7 years. That's pretty impressive that he's gotten to the maybe slightly above average professional range. That's really good for Jake. But obviously Canelo's a world title contender. He's holding belts at 168 right now, which I don't even know what this fight would be at. I would assume maybe around the 185 range. I don't think Jake can cut much lower than 185. So it's not going to be for belt. I just think this is a big super fight payday for Canelo. Something to even get his name even more out there. Obviously, he's one of the biggest stars in boxing, but Jake just brings more than a boxing audience. He can introduce Canelo to a wide range of people. So I think that's kind of the reasoning for Canelo taking this fight. Why does Jake take this fight? That's another big question. I think it's similar to why Canelo would take it, a big payday, but this adds so much to Jake's boxing record. This adds so much respect to his name just for taking this fight, just for stepping in the ring with Canelo, even if Canelo starches him, which I would fully expect Canelo to win this fight. I don't think there is a way for Jake to win this fight. I think it's just too early in his career. He's a good boxer, but he's not a world champion boxer yet. Not that he can't get there at some point if that's what he really wants, but he's not there yet. And Canelo has been at that level for years and years and years. You could even argue Canelo's been at that level since he fought Floyd Mayweather, and that was 10 plus years ago, Canelo would have been in his mid-20s. Yeah, Canelo's been at a world championship level for a long time. But even taking the fight just adds so much credibility to Jake's name, and that's something, whether he admits it or not, is something he's striving for, is the respect of the boxing community, to be respected and not completely hated and looked at as a bad thing for boxing. He wants to be looked at as a good thing for boxing, and this is a good thing for boxing. It brings so many eyes to the sport, whether it's necessarily the most even matchup or not. Sometimes boxing isn't always about that. Boxing is a business just as much as it's a sport. I hate to tell y'all, but it is. And this is good for the boxing business. Is it good for the boxing sport? It is what it is. Like, it's just not an even matchup, but like, whatever. It's great for business. It's going to bring a ton of revenue into boxing. They're going to sell out whatever stadium they want. It's going to be huge. It's going to make Jake's name bigger in the boxing world and Canelo's name bigger in the more entertainment and global world. And again, this is something that Jake's kind of been calling on for a little while, something that we expected years down the line. Not this year, and definitely not in May, and definitely not for his, what I would assume is his next fight. Like, I mean, he doesn't have much time in between now and May. It's 3 months. So like, if this is what they're going for, they need to go ahead and announce it. And I'm assuming they would both be in training camp. I don't know, maybe not Canelo, but if I was them, I'd go ahead and get this announced so they could go on a press tour and make this the biggest fight in 2025. And yeah, I mean, I just don't know. It still blows my mind that this is even in the works and talks and somewhat kind of confirmed. Like, part of me still wants to believe that it's not true, and it could very well not end up being true. Jake's next fight might be that July date that he said, and it could be against whoever. But there's just a lot of context clues that I've been putting together. Like Canelo's starting to open up to the Jake Paul conversation. He's got a lot of time between now and Terrence Crawford. On Jake's side, he's been talking about not being available for May in terms of a KSI fight, that meaning he's had May booked up for quite a while. So, I don't know. Things just add up in my opinion, and this could very well be the case. How does the fight go? I think Canelo wins, pretty obviously. I don't know if he wins in the first round, but I think he puts a little bit of a boxing lesson on Jake Paul. As much as, and people are going to hate me for this, I would love to see Jake win this fight. I think it would be hilarious. I would love to see the boxing hardcore fan base lose their mind at Jake Paul beating Canelo, but it's just not, I doubt it's going to happen. I think Canelo's going to win like a round 5 or 6 TKO. That's kind of what I would think, and I don't think it's going to be that hard for him, but who knows? Maybe Jake Paul makes it competitive, but I don't think so. I mean, Canelo's been fighting at a world championship level before Jake even started boxing, so I think Canelo wins pretty easily. But that's all I've got. If this ends up becoming official, we will do a ton of more coverage for it, but I wanted to go ahead and cover it because it's being reported by a lot of people, and yeah, I am shocked. And if it ends up being confirmed, it'll be the biggest spectacle of 2025 and one of the biggest spectacles of the entire decade. It'll be crazy. But that's all I've got. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll be back on the next video. Take care.